We have entered the spiritual void from A to Z.
With all these three beauties here. Hello,
I
everyone.
Hey,
know.
Rod.
I
It's
hope
like
you're all
power.
doing well.
Power, the power of three. There it is, the
More,
power of three.
more,
I like that.
more
The power of three.
horsepower. More
More
horsepower.
horsepower.
Right. So we're
Mhm.
live, everybody. Hi, welcome to
Hi,
the Spiritual
everybody.
Void from A to Z. Thank you for all being here. We have Susie in chat. Hi, Susie.
Hi,
Hi,
Susie.
Susie. How are you? There's a comment from her. Okay, you three beautiful
Yes,
goddesses.
she says
Better ready to bring
we
down the
better
real.
bring it today, raw and real. Well, it's going to be
Always,
It's going to
definitely,
be.
always.
definitely. So, um,
Sabrina, hi. How are
Hi,
hi.
you?
Sabrina. I can't see the chat. Why can't I see the chat? Well,
Um,
I guess I'm not privy, am I? I'm just not privy.
Oh, you know what? You're gonna have to, because it's a streaming service, you're gonna have to use a different device to follow the chat.
No, that's all right. That's all right. You know what? I'm once again, I like being in the dark because then you know what? I can just go, "Hey!" And then if I miss you, it's because I didn't see you. That's why. But
It's
thank
so
you
good.
for showing up.
Yeah, so welcome back to the Spiritual Void from A to Z with my wonderful co-host Hilly Lilly, Hilda of uh do you just do a flipperoo? Yeah, you did. I saw
No, I
that.
did that. I said,
No, not you, not you.
a
Over
thumbs up.
Ravneet.
Oh, did you do a flipperoo?
She did a flipperoo. So
Okay,
I
see,
was,
that's the
I'm jealous
rebel.
for
That's the
you.
I
rebel.
was,
That's the rebel. That's the rebel in the group. She's a rebel,
I was
y'all.
just playing around.
She's a
Sorry.
rebel.
You can't play around with my piggies, okay? They catch everything. So, anyways, or most things anyway. But yeah, so my beloved co-host Hilly Lilly from Organic to the Land Stories from Nova Scotia or Nova Score. Sorry, you say it. Just
Oh, no, or Nova Scotia's organic to the land stories. And everybody,
yay.
I have on shorts. This is not a dress, okay? Or skirt. I wouldn't go that short with a skirt.
I was confused.
Yes.
Okay, so
But we got
she's
some
And
thighs showing tonight.
and joining us today for this wonderful chat, we have the beloved, our favorite, Ravneet of Winds of Reflection.
yay! I'm so glad to be here, you
Yay!
girls.
Who is now known as the rebel.
Yes, who's now
You will know
to be known as
more.
a rebel because she had to flip right in the middle of the conversation. And I was like, what kind of witchery are you doing over there, Miss Thing? Anyways, so
Okay.
yeah, so today I want to thank Ravneet for joining us for this discussion because we, especially after the last live that we did
Yep,
with Hilda and I. Are you gonna keep
yep.
glitching there, Miss Ravneet? Because all of a
I
sudden,
didn't hear anything.
You
anyways,
didn't do a thing. Keep
okay.
going.
But it just, yeah, anyways. So after last week we were talking about the movie Straw. And of
Mm,
course, that was a very heavy hitter, Tyler Perry movie, very into, mental health and understanding what that can be like, especially for those who are melanated, and and especially for the divine feminine, right?
mhm.
And what that struggle can really look like. I'm, and we all, especially, well, even Ravneet, because Ravneet was in the chat with us during that video, and we found that we all could found some sort of relation to that story, and how powerful that was to really hold space and the understanding for why it's so important to be able to hold space for one another, and what that looks like, and the idea of holding space, you know when we all have trauma and what that can look like, we're especially when we're at different stages of our healing, um, you know, and it can be very difficult to, even for the person healing, to go through that process, because it it's usually a lonely road, going in, doing the introspection and things like that. And when you don't have people to relate to who understand you, it can be that much harder to go through and to process all these things. So, um having others that you can relate to, who understand what it's like to go through these the healing process, is so important. Yes,
I
it's
just
so.
want to say, because that movie Straw, it did connect a lot of women, and I will just use women because I
Yes.
think it was and the reason why it did, because it's not one of us women that through the course of our journey, you didn't find yourself out of control. You didn't find yourself having not all the answers. You didn't find yourself having more than one challenge being given to you at the same time. And some of it being a little bit, it all seemed life altering in its moment. But to remain in that, there's not one woman that can't say that she hasn't been in that space. And
Yes.
that's what made the character in that movie so powerful, and I think relatable, because as a woman, the pressure we will often even put on ourselves because of subscribing to the mindset of what they think a woman is, what
Yeah.
they think a mother is, what they think a wife is, what they think a daughter is. We have a lot of programming that's already the programming starts at birth. The
Yeah.
moment that you come out, that programming starts. So, you know, and then it takes your lifetime to figure out, you know what, fuck the programming. I'm not going with the programming anymore. I'm more aligning with myself. But it takes us most of our life or half of our life in order to get there. And
Yeah.
that's when you start to find your value.
And I wanted just to add to that, even just to say that, and even more specifically, I want to, rather than just saying women, because yes, as we as women can relate to that, right? As naturally born into woman, right? But even with, like, this is the last day of the month, and even with pride, the idea and the understanding of the divine feminine, and that the divine feminine exists within us all, regardless of your gender. So, that understanding that, yes, we looked at the movie Straw, and we were relating to the caregiver, the mother wound, all of those things, but it wouldn't have, well, it could very well look different, but imagine, because we have a lot of single fathers, we have a lot of male who step into that motherly role,
Absolutely.
right? And so that very well could be the same situation for a single father, right? But they are still acting in their divine feminine role, because they are the nurturer, they're being the nurturer in that
And a
place.
shout out to the fathers that are
Yes.
holding it down like that,
Yes.
in the order that they're holding it down, because you know what, they often don't get the acknowledgement. And I happen to know one or two, actually two, that are
Yes.
holding it down like that, assume the responsibility of, well, you know what, the mom didn't. She was the one that took the exit route, you know.
Exactly.
So
So I
yeah,
wanted I wanted
shout
to
out to
make
that
mention of
father,
that, right?
for those
And
men.
yes, and yes, thank you, Susie. But yeah, so so even as we were looking at that movie, more specifically, it's the divine feminine, right? In that role, and that was the whole point. But again, as that was such a heavy thing, and we covered that the last time. We wanted to, flip the script and elevate us after we've done that descension, if you will. Now let's ascend into another movie, and what better than to put throw a little Disney Pixar into the mix and discuss the movie Soul. And I remember when I first saw this movie, and it came out in 2020, so it came out during the pandemic, starring the voice character is Jamie Foxx. And Hilda and I just before the slide, we were even talking about it, about how much talent is packed into this one individual, them being like a quadruple threat, if you will, when it comes to arts, because we have
We're
someone
talking about Jamie Foxx,
yes,
who
because
plays the character
he
of
plays the
the
character,
teacher in
yes,
the movie.
in the movie, yes, and he plays Joe. I think full name is Joe Carter, I think, in the movie, right? So it kind of follows a little bit of his personal life where that is concerned, and I think he did such an amazing job, because I've always liked Jamie Foxx, growing up, and watching him from his sitcoms. He's a comedian, he acts, he sings, he does and practically all of it, right? Anyways, but so getting back to the movie Soul, and exactly what that was about. And I want to hear from Ravneet first. What was your take on the movie?
But who saw the movie first? Let's
First
see
one.
in the chat. Who saw the movie? Put a
Yes.
one in the
Yeah.
chat, or yes if you saw the movie, because
Otherwise,
this
we will
movie I don't
summarize
think
it.
is what's that?
Otherwise, we'll summarize it, right?
Yes,
Or
yes,
something.
and I'll tell you right now. This we're talking about a movie with, and when as we talk about the movie, we want to we're coming in with the understanding that people are watching it, as they are coming in to even engage in the live. So yes, there will be spoiler alerts, but not enough where we not enough to tell you the entire story so that you won't, we want to encourage you to go and see the movie, right? So
I think, yeah. But still, everyone can relate to the concepts, I think, even if you have
exactly,
not watched the movie. So I think it's all good, even if you haven't. So.
exactly.
No, please
So
summarize.
Ravneet,
Okay.
tell me what you um it doesn't look like we have anybody who's seen the movie so far, but that's okay. So tell me, what did you think of the movie? What were your first impressions?
I think this movie is much deeper than it looks, because I know Disney tries to make it like all fun and all good and all that, but the concepts were very deep, I feel like, because it takes a lot of mastery to get there, I think. Because the protagonist, right, um, he has ambitions, and all of a sudden it's all gone. He dies. Um, and it's all gone to nothing, and he's questioning his identity. Like, it's like a whole existential crisis moment for him, because he was so defined by his love for piano, right? What is that?
Yes.
Piano, right? And I think that whole, because it really made me think, because especially I live in Northern America, and right, it's all about ambition and
Mhm.
goals, and
Hustle
you
culture.
know, yeah, and that's a culture. And if a person is just having a good time, people are like, are you crazy? Or like, it's very much built around goals and everything. So when something like COVID hit, for example, people were so shocked, because I think that to me is what happened to the character too. Like, something shocking happens, and you're like kind of questioning everything. Um, and I think that I'm going down the rabbit holes now, but like I think that this movie really makes us question, um, where is our identity tied to?
Yes. Yeah.
And it started right
Is it
off in the
tied?
beginning, right in the
Yeah,
beginning of the movie, when you know what?
yeah,
The teacher knocks on the door. He's presented with a classroom that doesn't seem really enthusiastic about what he doesn't really feel like he's reaching them at that particular point. He's
yeah,
presented with a full-time position, and that starts.
yes. And and that's another thing. But like overall, I think it was really thought provoking, 100%. But there are a lot of nuances that Hilda is talking about. We can talk about more,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's what I think.
So let me just give a quick sort of summary of the movie. And of course, the piggies are all like, yeah, let's do this because, our Disney is our thing. We're very much into the arts, and of course, have this discussion all the time. And we just had this discussion even just before we came on the live. Hilda always putting the brakes on when I'm telling her things about what movies to watch next, because she's not really a movie watcher, right? She's a very much out in nature, that kind of person, where I grew up with TV and things like that. So I
It's a very
relate.
different generation. Yeah,
Yes, and I
it's just
relate
really
a lot
different.
of things to what I see. But I feel like that's also what I really enjoy about that is that, and I guess too now in this stage of my life and exploring further um depths of spirituality and things like that, I'm like, oh my god, like like it's like all my piggies are like, the whole story of our existence has been told to us this entire time, and it's only because I've stopped, forced to, mind you, forced to stop with the hustle culture and thrown into a major timeout, if you will, and with nothing more to do than to really sit with myself and everything that's around me. And part of that is also absorbing um and taking in all of these the media, because I mean I grew up on it, right? So when these newer movies started coming out, even like Soul, I was like, oh my god, wait, I've seen this storyline before. Why do I know this storyline? And my brain, like a catalog, all the movies I can possibly comes whipping through. Oh yeah, it's like this story, it's like this story, it's like this story, da 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 da. So, so but it's the way that it's being retold in such a fresh new way that can be so relatable to understanding. And yes, it's in the form of Disney, which is supposed to appeal to children, but when you're an adult, there's so much undertones that you really only get as an adult.
I thought it was timely, is what I thought. I thought for the time period that we are living in, for
Yeah.
exactly what we are going through, because not only did he descend, because that he went through a dissension period, and
Mhm.
then he went through an ascension period, and it was through the ascension period that, well yeah, I mean, we don't all fall down, because his ascension, or the dissension was into manhole. I mean, he escapes cars, he escapes many things that could have killed him, and only to walk.
That was an interesting,
Yeah,
Yes.
well, it's a good metaphor,
incident.
because
Yes.
you know what I thought
Yeah, it
about?
was a metaphor. Yeah.
I thought about the people who wait all their life to retire before they live. And a lot of
Ah,
people I
yeah,
know that have done that end up dying before they even reach their retirement. They get sick,
yeah.
because they have not been listening to their body, and an illness ends up taking over. But powerful lessons,
Mm,
I thought, throughout the whole movie.
yes.
And
Yes.
sorry, I interjected, but I had to.
No, that's okay. That's okay. But like I was just saying, I was like, like the whole summary of the movie is, we come into the movie understanding this, meeting this character Joe, right? And he's a teacher. Now the first part of the whole thing, as it starts in the beginning, he is actually a, let's say, like a substitute teacher. He's on contract. He's not working full time. He's a, and there are a lot of people that I've known that even um you know that I started, when I started working, there were a lot of teachers that I knew who went to school to become teachers, and they could not get a full-time position. So they first had to, they go and they substitute and they bounce around until a permanent position can come up. And in my prime working days, like in my 20s, I worked with and new teachers that it was like that, because the economy, the way the economy was and things like that, and government and funding and all of that stuff, permanent positions, that was like a overload flux of teachers, but not enough places for them to work or to get the permanent position, right? So a lot of there in real life, I knew a lot of teachers that were very similar, like Joe, working these jobs, sort of temporary positions, in order to make a living. So
But his biggest dream was to be a musician
yes.
on the stage. And his whole dream was for the applause. Well, not the applause, but sharing
The
his
fame.
art, and just that was all
Yes.
of his life. When that dream entered, and that was his major focus. So the teaching job was just to supplement his
Supplement.
income.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
supplemented.
At first, that's correct. And now part of that dream came about because this is where generational things come in, because remember, his father was a musician, so that love for that music came in because his father. And now his father, that was his father's dream. His father's dream was to be a musician. Now, whether or not, I don't recall if how much of that part of the story we actually know, whether or not the father actually made it. But I know that in a lot of movies, the storyline is that people who go into the art, right? They're the souls that wander off because they don't want to adhere to the patriarchal sort of picture perfect idea of, family. And so, they have a passion, a dream that they're looking to follow. So a lot of these, and that's why you have single family homes, right? Because one person's an artist and that person wants to follow their dreams, so they're gone. They leave the kids
Because
behind.
and I'll speak from my
Yeah.
own uh, viewpoint as because I'll call myself an artist, and someone who has uh, artistic s- abilities. It's in me. It's just
Mhm.
something that's in me. Whether it's I don't like straight lines. I don't like rules that don't make sense. So there's all that process that goes on in an artist's mind, I think, that
Yep.
makes it hard to function in the so-called normal world because
In
you
that box, that
into
rigid.
the box. And
Yep. Right. So, so we follow, we see that the character, and he's, of course, he's teaching, some kids that are, in music class, but a lot of them don't have, this one forgot her saxophone, this one is like, meh, like they're just bored, they're not really into it. But you have the one kid who may not be the greatest, but you can see the passion is there. And it's when that passion is seen that sparks something in Joe, right? it reminds him about his own spark and his own aspirations and dreams, right? But here he is stuck teaching majority of children who don't really care about the music, and he's just like, right?
And what was his mother's dream? Well, his mother wanted him to get the full-time job.
Yes,
She was
that's the thing.
actually like, you know what, do something sensible, which how many times has that happened to us
Yes. Don't
in our
shoulda, coulda,
lives?
woulda, right? It's the same storyline like Sister Act, right? If you've ever seen Sister Act, anyone who knows about the yeah, all of that was by design. Exactly, Susie. Right? So yeah. But then an ex-student of his happens to be playing at a joint where one of his idols, if you will, of musicians is playing, and he's getting a chance to audition to be a part of the band. There's an opening. So now it's like, oh yeah, I want to do this. And he's all excited and he's gearing up. And and then the rest of the movie becomes pretty much all about that up until the point where what happens? The dissension happens, literally speaking, because he falls
Well,
down.
that's after he made his that's after he made his plummet.
He falls into the manhole. And now what happens? We find him now. He's no longer himself. We find him now into a little blip of a ghost who is now finding himself on what looks like a conveyor belt going to the pearly gates. Right? And he's like, what the hell? Like, what? What? I'm supposed to be going to my
You know,
time.
you know when he did that, it reminded me of people collecting toilet paper in COVID. Like, what to do? Let's collect toilet paper because that's the only thing we can do.
Yup.
He runs back. He runs away from the great spirit, whatever, the white thingy, right?
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm going back. I don't know how I ended up here.
No, I'm not supposed to be here.
And then so then the rest of the movie now is all about him trying to get back to himself so that he can go through this. And then all the shenanigans that lead up into it. Now the shenanigans that lead up into it, because meanwhile the real Joe, after he fell in manhole, right? We don't know. Well, I guess somebody found him and put him in the hospital. Okay, so he's in a coma or whatever. Meanwhile, all the rest of it, shenanigans are going on because now he's up in the spirit realm, and now he was the great beyond, but then fell down wherever he did and made his way to the great before, where now all the souls that are ready to incarnate now into life and gain their spark, and right.
Which I want to say that was a near-death experience. He didn't actually die.
Yes.
He did go to the other side, had a conversation, had some negotiations done. Now, there's a whole story in between that, but, you know,
and the shenanigans,
they gave him another chance. He came back like the cat.
Oh, boy.
Like the cat with 9 lives.
Yeah, but...
yeah, so then, of course, he tried to cheat everything, right? And because he doesn't want to be a mentor, he doesn't want to mentor new souls. He just wants to get back to his life because, right, the opportunity of a lifetime is there. Only as now the rest of the movie now, as he's, having to mentor this one soul who just can't find their spark, does not want to incarnate. And I don't blame 22 for not wanting to incarnate because I'm down here
22.
Now.
What is the significance of 22? 11, 11.
No, but 22
that's pretty
is also
freaking powerful symbolism all through that movie.
But 22 is actually its own master number. 11, 22, and 33 are considered master numbers. So, and that's a whole nother numerology rabbit hole discussion, right? That we can dive down into, and we can really.
It's deep, though. Deep.
Yeah, all the symbolism, right, where that is concerned. And don't forget about what happens to the lost souls.
Yes. Yes, they wandered. Now everybody knows somebody. Listen, I want to
Oh
talk about
yeah.
that lost soul. I got you a
I want
story.
to do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Addiction. A lost
listen,
soul caught up in
but
addiction.
wait
Yes.
a minute. I want to
I
tell
think
you about
most
a
of
woman
us
in our
are.
neighborhood. Lost soul. Didn't deal with crap. Started walking around the neighborhood like a lost soul. Seriously, she died like that. Ended up in a nursing home, younger than what she should have ever, and
Mm.
a lost soul. And I thought about poor Anna. I did. I'm sorry. I interjected like that because Anna just came to my mind.
No,
Hmm.
no, but that really comes like because that's a really big piece, the lost soul, and you see how I interpreted when they were in looking for the lost souls, and our flighty guy who flipping the sign there, who's like Mr. Guru, but he hides a kite, like that's the kind of guru he was, okay. But anyways, we'll just that's it.
What did you say? What did you say? What did you say? I didn't hear that. What?
I said, he's that kind of guru because he's high as a kite. Like that's like he was
Oh
high,
yeah, yeah.
spinning the side, right? Like
I
that.
got you. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Stuck in the 70s, like kind of looking kind of soul, okay? Anyways, anyhow, and he's the one who powers the ship that go because he goes and he looks for the lost souls. So he's like he would be like what we would call like a medium, or someone
Mm.
who's like a
Shaman,
spiritual
like that.
shaman, spiritual healer, whatever, okay. But he's a flighty, he's a tutti frutti flighty kind of
Yeah,
one, okay.
yeah.
He was an interesting guy. Let me tell you that.
Very eccentric. Okay, but anyway, anyhow, so again, when they were exploring the sea of lost souls, right, and all that darkness, and the way that it was also explained in the movie reminds me so much of those when we get caught up in things like addiction, the
Yes,
consumption of addiction, the
yes,
numbing. That
yes,
to me is how
yes,
you lose souls.
yes,
State
yes,
state
yes.
right now, as you were talking about
Numbing of the spirit.
that same friend, and Anna, right? Anna, you said, it reminded me of, this was actually during the big tower moment of my life now, where God was like, God, the universe, whoever, creator was like, you're doing too much, and put me in a literal timeout. I mean, I had to become like a hermit. Or it was like I wasn't getting the message because I was still hustling and doing all these things. And it was like my body was like, no, stay put. And really had a physical condition that I had no choice but to stay put, because every time I went out to do something, disaster struck most of the time. So, or a lot of the time. And it was like every time that disaster struck, a piece of me died along with it. My spirit was constant, right? So I had to eventually just succumb and just surrender to the process and be like, okay, well, I'm just going to stay home. But the choice was, okay, do I get consumed by addiction, or which partly because that was another thing, trying to struggle and get myself out of that. But the addiction was about compulsive spending. Luckily it wasn't like drug related or anything like that, or alcohol or gambling, like so many people who fall into those traps, you know.
Here's the deal. You know what? I'm not going to minimize any of that because you know what? Here's the deal. Bullshit's bullshit. I'm not going to put a fancy label on the bullshit. Guess what? Addiction is addiction. Its
Yes,
rooted results are the same bullshit. Trust
yes,
me. If you act
it's
with it long enough, because
yeah,
overspending can leave you homeless
yes.
if you don't get your shit right. So, you know what? It's not that one is above the other. It's
No,
just that one can destroy you faster than the other.
exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. And that's a very
Yeah.
good point that
I
you
want
that
to.
you put
I
there.
want to. Yeah, I want to talk more about these topics, but can we summarize real quick so we can
Yeah.
talk about these topics?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So anyway, but yeah, right. Okay. So speeding up. But you know what? I think that's the thing. I think the summary, as we hit these topics, to me, as we go along, right, in the summary, and we hit these topics, we can, by all means, stop and talk. Like, don't be afraid to, like, no. Like as we're talking about it, let's talk about it, right? Like, like the whole idea of addiction. But what I was gonna say, just in response to what you were talking about with your friend Anna, I met someone along the way who, not only, dealing with mental health concerns, being bipolar, but also then masking and numbing those symptoms with addiction, right? And then having addiction run in the family, like,
We're
I
getting
never
away from
knew.
the movie, Alana. We got to get back to the movie.
Well, we
Back
are.
to the movie, Alana.
It's still related to the movie. It's still related to the movie. But just what you were saying is the idea of never seeing someone who can, what's the word? Dementia, alcohol induced dementia. Never knew that was a thing until I met that
Mm,
person.
mm,
Right?
mm.
Well,
So,
I think, if you personally ask me, I think we only consider people who are at the brink of like extreme, like you can't do anything. But let's not forget that it first starts at the mental level, and
yes.
then
Right,
it manifests in the physical
right.
level.
Yes.
But when it has gotten too far, but then we all have our own pitfalls of addictive behaviors that,
That's right.
Yes.
fall under this category.
That's right.
Exactly. And so that's exactly where, the whole idea of the lost souls, right? We don't want to end up there. We want to catch ourselves before. And and part of that is why again, talking about the importance of holding space for one another, because it's so easy for any one of us to fall into that trap, right?
I want to make a point, and that is, it's because it's or not make a point, but just something that I want to bring out that I thought the movie was trying to bring out, and that is the fact that each of us sign our contracts before we come. And the fact that before the meat suit, you know what? The whole personality thing, I thought that was,
That was very interesting to me.
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead, Revney. Speak on it.
So yeah, this
I
goes right back in. So we're following along, like the lost back to where Meet 22 and all of the back in the great before.
Yeah, I think when they were asking all, when I think Joe asked like how come this personality is, or this soul is choosing this personality, and the instructor, whatever the name was, um, said it's nobody knows why, they're just assigned it, it's random, is what he said. And I know it's hypothetical, the whole thing, but I think there are people who have talked extensively around this topic, like Journey of Souls book. Like there are just so many great speakers who are no more, but then who have talked about like how the souls, there is that in between place, where each one of us decides what we want to do. When we go back and we decide which lessons we learned, which we didn't, and then we decide again, and all of that. And I think this movie did touch on it. And I think it does make sense, because if you look around, each of us have our own very different lessons that we are working on and we need to learn. Um, and it's interesting. There was one particular soul in the movie which was like a psychopath or something. Like, and the guy said, "It's not our headache." It's the earth's headache. I'm like, oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, the you were like the character that you said, like the teacher. Remember, they're all named Jerry, by the way.
I know,
All
I know.
named
And they
Jerry.
said, and they said,
No,
and what,
he
and
says, why are they all named Jerry?
and the reason they gave was so interesting, remember? And it reminded me when people say their spirit guides are named Kevin. I'm like, and he said that's the only name your human brains or your brain can decipher. So just call it.
Yeah, that was good.
It does.
That
And
was
then
good.
I was wondering how much we are stick with our names, and it's like it's
And that is why that is again. So that really brings it back. Okay, you guys need to stop, okay? Because now it really brings it back because now they're entering AEC, and that is why we're named Piggy. Okay, Piggy,
Okay.
you get
Piggy,
it.
Piggy. And when I talk to my therapist, and I'm like, because we're talking about my feelings, right? Like separating it from self, so that not any one of them is in the driver's seat, right? You are understanding and you're in your logical mind, so you separate the trauma from you so that when you are making your decisions, right? And that's where that whole, again, the idea of the piggies. But then so my brain was just like, because it's like, well, identify them. Well, you have sadness, you have this, and that's where, okay, another Disney movie, Inside Out, well, that would be for another time.
Inside Out, yeah.
Okay, but anyways, but it was like, I'm like, okay, well, they're all piggies. So what? Piggy. There's no name. I don't need a name. Piggy is perfect. Right?
You know what I
All I
thought
feel
about?
is want attention.
Well, the
Just
whole
like
point
Piggy.
is to integrate them. You have to integrate,
Yes, yes.
integrate
I
the
think
piggies with the South.
No,
I think
see,
that's the whole
that's
point.
where I go again, where I talk about it's the de-integration that gets us to understand our feelings better, so that we're not where we are responding to situations rather than reacting to them. So it's the deconstruction that your feelings are not you, they are separate from you. That's why they are my piggies.
Gotcha, girl. I ain't gonna play with your piggies. Listen, hold on to them, put them to bed. I'll even give you a blanket, girl. I'll send your blanket all the way from Nova Scotia for you and your piggies. And if you want to burn, we make the best burns in Nova Scotia. I got you, baby. I got you. You can have your
Whatever
piggies.
you want.
Whatever you want.
Man, being an
You know,
empath is this is exhausting. Being
it
an
is.
empath, it could be very
And that's,
exhausting work.
I think, and it also means that that's why we need, well, that's another topic. That's why we need so much alone time to figure out and spend time in nature. Because I think that everything is very connected, but it's just when we are not looking at our emotions when they're coming and it becomes a hurricane or like a full tsunami.
Overwhelming.
That's, yeah,
Overwhelming.
that's when we look at them. That's why it becomes overwhelming, because we're not looking at them when they're coming, right? We're
You
not
know,
processing them enough.
it's funny because I listen to my guts and I listen to my sinuses. Those are the two places in which I will hold, in which will be my identifier that something's not right. Something's short circuiting, and you're not feeling the situation, you're not feeling this person, or there's something severely out of balance. It'll happen in my gut. I'll feel it. And if I pay
Yeah.
attention to that in my sinuses, I can usually ward off the bigger problem, or do whatever is necessary, whether that is timeout, uh, uh, let go of whatever it is that I'm curing that really does not belong to me, because that's often
Yeah.
the sinus. The sinuses come in when I'm carrying stuff that does not belong to me. But I just had to say that because we
Yeah.
were just talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. And
But
another,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, another thing I noticed was that around the same topic of choosing personalities is, I don't know, I watch so much stuff, like not, like throughout my life, whatever happened, is that, when a person, like, for example, commits suicide,
Mm-hmm.
what happens is that the whole puzzle then gets disturbed because their life was an important puzzle to help the other pieces. It's almost like in a play, one person or one part if leaves, it disturbs the whole thing. And I think that's how we are. We all have our own different lessons, but then we somehow are related, are connected. It all makes sense. We are here for a reason. And I
Hmm.
think that was really interesting for me to put together when they were choosing, like, this person has this personality, this person has that.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that to me it is, see, for example, if I'm used to staying alone, right, that means I have a hard time being vulnerable.
Right.
And that means that's the thing I need to integrate,
Right.
right? And
Right.
that's why we need other people to reflect that back to us, to mirror that to us. Because we can't see that in ourselves. We just cannot,
No.
Yes,
No.
exactly.
That's right.
right? So I think it all makes sense why we all are so different yet so connected
Yes.
in the same way. And that's why I feel like we are one big family, even if we get it or not. We are. We all share the same earth, we all share the same water, same air, same food, everything. But we have put labels on top of it. But it's all we're and we sleep under the same sky. you know,
But
we have our own little boundaries, but then you know what I mean? It's just it's gonna all end in a few years. So it's just I think we
Well,
make
I would hope a little longer than a few years. Like, I
I
mean,
know. I'm
but
just saying, in the larger scale of life, it's we're not here for a long time, and I think that's really something important to think
yeah.
about. Susie is saying something here. Wait, who? Let me energy
you
well
know,
connected. Yeah.
it's like, therefore, when you align, and I'm going to use the word align, not when you choose your mate, but when you align with your mate,
Mm,
hence there would lie the importance of 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 them truly knowing themselves, and
yes.
being able to read you. And I'm going to say that as an empath, very, very, as a Sigma woman, Sigma female, definitely you need to know how to read me, or you're not going to be able to navigate with me. It's just going to be simple as that. You're not going to be able to navigate with me because
Right.
I might have you all over the map and in your feelings if you don't know who you are. If you really don't know who
Yeah.
you are,
Hmm.
And that's another thing. In the midst of all of this, I think we really need to know who we are because we are all very unique. And I think it makes a lot of sense because we have lived so many lives before. I don't know if you believe in reincarnation or not. And I think that's what makes us unique, the experiences that we have gathered throughout lifetimes. And that will be always unique for all of us. And I
Yes.
yes,
think it's like tapping into that. And then that's why I feel like it's much more than, I know we think about lovers and boyfriends and girlfriends and all of that shebang. But if you really think about it, we all mirror each other. But in
yes,
this society, this is the only accepted relationship that we feel we can get close to. That's something to think about.
right,
Why
right.
don't we allow other relationships for us to grow? Why? Why not?
And that's why it's been
Good
Why
so
do we
point.
only
important.
feel comfortable? Yeah, why do we only feel comfortable with lovers? That's something to think about. And I think that's why there's so much isolation today.
Right.
And that's why it's so
It's not,
important to redefine and understand the term love.
Yes,
That is
yes, and
why
yes,
and
I
yes.
started 3 degrees of love to understand the truth of what it means to be love and to love another. You have to
and
first
that's,
recognize who
you
you
know,
are.
yeah, and I think that's another thing. Unless you learn to love yourself, you cannot love another.
And you have to understand what it means to actually love yourself, because self-indulging
Oh no, that's not
is
like,
not love.
no. It's like
Selfishness
No,
look,
is not love, right?
yeah, it's like
If it's
seeing
not
your
it's not held with integrity.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like I think it's a sticky topic because most of our wounding is around sisterhood, all these relationships we have.
Brotherhood,
We
all
do.
of those
We do.
things.
Yeah, we do have a lot of wounding around it. And I think I understand why we don't want to indulge in it. But I
You
think,
know, if you do not heal, if you
yeah,
don't heal those wounds,
we need to heal.
you might steer away from it. And
Yeah.
it's like the
That's the
person
thing.
that you, yeah, you got to heal the wound because
Yeah.
there's nothing
That's the
wrong with
thing.
any of it. And I think you made a very good point. And I think the best point was this: it's learning how to love in in that capacity in all your relationships. Why can't you derive that from that? And the first relationship being with yourself,
Yes.
having an affair with yourself,
Yeah.
loving
And
yourself, putting
and
yourself
trust
first.
me, yeah,
What's
and
that?
trust me, like loving yourself is not just, it's when I say love yourself, because I have been exploring this for a long time, right? And I had to, because being an empath, you need to know that, right?
Mm,
Otherwise you'll be like sucked forever in the
yep,
ocean.
yep.
You know,
Thank you. Floating, floating.
you're floating the whole time because you don't know what you are feeling, right? And that's why my main focus on whatever I talk about my channel is about this. When I say self love, it's knowing yourself, being in this body, also, plus our relationship with nature. We are
Yes,
so dependent on nature the whole time.
yes,
Like,
yes.
trust me, when you quiet down, I can hear my cat talking to me. You know what I mean? Like, that's the
Mm,
listening. That listening opens up
mm,
when you are receptive, when you are open. You're not just, I am this human. You're not just human. You are in this human. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, you're right. You are
Okay.
absolutely correct. But you see, based on what you're saying and where I think a lot of people forget and get lost and caught up in that,
Oh, wow.
even where bringing it back to we fast forward now, they've already dropped, human in cat, and 22 in human, right? And now the understanding 22 is understanding what it's like to be human for the first time, and is falling in
Mm-hmm.
love with the idea of being human, of
Yes.
being self, of understanding the senses and all of that.
Yes.
But here's the thing where I think a lot of people tend to forget, because they get so caught up with the idea of connecting with nature, get
Mm.
outside, put your feet in grass. Da, 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 da. Yeah, those are all great things. Absolutely. I'm not negating them. But here's the part that many people forget. As we are nature, the connectivity has to be with each other. You are not fully grounded if you're only putting your feet in grass and you're not connecting with your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not connecting, you're not listening, you're not talking, you're not
balance,
expressing,
balance,
you're not
balance, balance.
communicating and
Balance.
connecting. We're nature. So the grounding isn't just about putting your damn feet in sand or dirt or whatever freaking piece of
Because
land.
we're built for human
We all have
connection.
to be
We're
grounding
built for
ourselves
human connection.
with one another.
That's
That is
true.
the connectivity that
That
we're
is true.
forgetting. And
That
that is
is
why
But you
we're
know what?
perfect.
That's not
crumbling.
to say though that you know what I'm going to tell you because oftentimes the empath goes to retreat to heal, and it's
Yeah.
you know what? Eventually we come out, and I think we are coming out. The fact that you know what, you've got three empaths, powerful empaths, might I say, who have chosen to come together and chosen to give the time. And we all know how special our time is.
Yeah.
I know how special my solitude is. So the fact that you know what the universe has brought us together for this time, it's
And
because
this
it's a
is how
safe
we're
enough space.
grounding. We are
Safe enough space.
grounding right now. by connecting with one another, by
That's a good point. Yep.
coming into the spiritual void to discuss commonalities. This is grounding.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
in
But
my I'm in my house, in my four corners of the thing, with only my plant that is not growing any leaves, my poor orcana that's just there. Okay, that's the only connected.
Did you love it today? Did you love
I
your?
love orcana every day. Okay,
Okay, okay,
every
okay,
day. I talk to
okay.
orcana all the
A
time.
leaf will grow. A leaf will grow soon.
Thank
but
you. Speak louder so she can hear you.
you know what Alana is saying is a valid point, because I think that I was so isolated for most part of my life, and I was very connected. Like people talk like, oh, spirituality, blah 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 blah. I would say I was completely ungrounded, if you ask me
Yes,
now. But
yes.
my life changed when I made friends, or I will say I did not find him, but he found me, and
Mm,
he was always there for me.
mm.
And it's not the support, it's not like I didn't have people in my life. That's another thing I want to point out. Not all people are actually good for you. Trust me.
That's
There is
right.
a thing called polarity, right? So just because people are there does not mean that they're good for you. It's just how it works. I think that's something I had to learn, because my mind is like, love is all love, like forgive everyone, blah blah blah, and I'm getting hurt after that. So
It takes a
I
lot of inner
think,
work, and we all have to do
Well,
this
yes,
people
work.
come in our
it's about
lives to teach
finding.
us a lesson too.
That's
They're
true.
lesson people.
That's true. But then I think what Alana is saying is a valid point, because we need to first align or heal our human side, I think, which actually gets healed through safe people, also nature, because I think I say nature because it's neutral. No, we don't get triggered by nature. When if someone says sister, we get triggered. We're like, you know.
It's true.
Here's the thing. Put a pin on that for a second here, because I'm gonna tell you something. The same
Yes,
nature
what
that
Susie's
we
saying.
put your feet in grass and da, 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 da. Okay.
Yes.
Remember, we're part of nature. Where do our bodies go when we die?
Yeah, that's what
Whether
we
we
came
get
about.
cremated or whatever, we end back into nature. Okay. Now, what happens when all that trauma goes unhealed for generations and generations, and then it's stored in our bodies, and then we die? We go back into nature. The very things we eat, the very things we consume, that toxicity, it goes back into nature. So we're grounding back into the toxicity. If we don't heal it, all we're doing is grounding ourselves in toxicity. You understand? We
That
have
is
to
also
do the
true.
healing work.
Yeah.
We have to
But the
cultivate.
grounding is a part of the healing.
It
The
is.
grounding is an essential part because you know
It
what?
is.
When
Oh,
you're
I'm not
cognizant
negating it.
of
I'm not
doing
going
it,
to negate that at all. I'm not
yeah,
negating it at all. But what I'm saying is we also have to recognize the
Yes.
whole thing. You
The
can't
there's
just
wound
look at the
needs to
one
be.
part of the picture.
absolutely. You just don't do one thing. The healing
Yeah,
process is a process of many
Gotta do
different
it
things
all.
as it comes up.
I do
Of the
agree. There's
being
this,
present, being
yeah,
present.
You can't fly
there's
with
this,
one wing.
yes, there is this TV
Jordan
series
Sparks
that
sung it well.
what is that?
Jordan Sparks sung it well.
I
You
haven't heard
cannot
that song, but
fly with one
I
wing.
see. Yeah, that's true. But I think where I faced issues was what Susie is saying. Not everyone means us well, and that can make you isolated from people. Even right now, there are toxic people in my life that I'm actively working to get away from, but they
Mhm.
happen to be in a professional life. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yep.
it's still the same thing, but it's kind of hard
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
but
The piggies
that
caught
said,
that wing. Don't worry. We caught it. We caught it. We
yeah,
caught the
and
wing.
it's like, it's like what I, okay, let's come back to the center. And I really like what Susie's saying. Nature helps us align ourselves, which helps us recall codes. Yes, that's the thing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Nature
Yeah.
has a way of, I would say, centering itself or like balancing itself out. We don't. We get traumatized and then we watch TV. We don't,
Yes.
have you seen that video of an animal that was a deer or something, and a cheetah caught it and had to leave for some reason, and the animal actually shaked out all the trauma from its body by itself. Like, that's how our bodies are too. We can shake out our trauma from our
Yes.
body, and my body does that naturally.
Yes.
If
Yes.
we don't do that,
Okay.
we don't do that. We're like, let's eat chocolate. That's what we
Yes.
do.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So I think when we say nature, it's that built-in principles of life
Now
to
let's remember we
Healer.
are nature too.
health.
We are part of nature.
To
We are nature too.
Yeah, but then it's then teaching ourselves going back to the ways of nature, right? But we don't presently. We don't.
Aligning.
Yeah, and that's why we need to, and that's what I think is the movie touched on. It was interesting, where they were saying that, oh, you will try pizza, and he
Yeah.
said, oh, but you can't taste anything here. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
our consciousness in itself cannot heal these wounds. They can only be healed here on this earth through being in this body. So
Yes.
what Alana is saying makes a lot of sense, and also what Hilda is saying makes a lot of sense, because they need to work together. And
Yes.
nature, go ahead.
Remember in the movie that, 22 had been here 1,000 times.
Mm,
She came, but she didn't try anything. She came
No,
and
no, no,
just like,
no,
she
no,
not
no.
just
No, 22 had never reincarnated. She had
no. I know that she didn't
structures.
reincarnate, but her mentors. She had about a
Mm.
thousand
Oh, yes,
different
yes, yes, yes,
mentors
yes, yes.
Yeah, that was
over the
so
period of
interesting.
time, and nothing clicked. It wasn't until she went and actually,
Mm.
if that hadn't
Experience within
happened,
Experienced.
herself.
if she
Yes.
hadn't have been in his body, tried on different things to say, well, geez, it's not as stupid as I thought, or it's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what? This stuff tastes good. I
It,
don't know what
it, it
it is.
actually was even to the point where, remember we were talking about earlier the subway train, on the subway train where they pick up the random bottles. They're
Yes,
all
and she
like,
picked up the
ew.
drink. Mhm,
Oh
mhm.
yeah. See,
Well,
that's
what
the
did,
innocent,
but say
right?
what you said, Hilda. What did you say that really sort of brought it home? Because there was something that you said, even about the character that you really related to yourself. Because remember
Um,
when I even made I made the joke, and I was like, well, imagine that was you, and you reincarnated it into, like, you came back, and Mufasa ended up in your body, and you ended up in Mufasa's body, and what, like, how would that go down, right? And what did you say? But you said something about Joe in that moment when I told you, I was like, but the part about the subway, and I was like, ew, right?
he
What
was
did
he
you
was he
say?
was repulsed. He was repulsed, and you know what? That was my feeling when I saw her drinking out of the thing. It was my natural response to that. But she was trying it for the first time.
I know, but what did you
Yeah.
say though about Joe and you relating it to you? Because you don't remember what you said.
Tell me what I said, because you know what? You gotta.
You said that, like, that's my body. Like, how dare you? Like, you.
Oh my God! Yes, that's right. That's right. That's another thing. When he had uh him not being in his body, because let's face it, Joe had lost his spark, or he hadn't really found his spark. But there was so many experiences he had in his life that just he had an appreciation
He had a
for just
spark, but he
life.
didn't realize he had it all along.
Right, right. Because life is filled with moments. Like
Yes.
his life was filled with moments, but he was looking for the big moment, which brings me to
Hmm.
the point of most of us are looking for the big moment when life is grand because you experience the present moment you're in. And I
Yes.
can honestly tell you all, I live in my present moment. I likes my present moment.
Yes. But what was the actual spark for Joe though? What was
I
what
think
was Joe's spark?
I think it's when he saw the 22 having fun. Remember when he was lying on that under the subway, and he was just lying on there, and he was just having so much fun with everything, and he realized, I think watching 22 is when he realized the joy or the
He
passion
got his
is just
spark from
living.
helping her find her spark. Isn't
Yes.
that what
Yes.
we do?
That's
Isn't that
his,
what
that
Yes.
we
was the
do?
spark. Exactly. His joy, his spark was teaching others and watching them find theirs.
I
That
think so.
was Joe's spark. That was his truest passion. It wasn't just the music. Yeah, he loved the music. The music was fantastic. But the true essence of his
I'm not going anywhere.
incredibility,
Just turning my camera off. I'm still here.
no worries. But his true essence was when he realized that he already was living his true spark as a
But remember
teacher,
when, like when he was
because his
when in
spark
the movie,
lit up in his children.
yeah. But in the movie, they were showing he was seeing his own life. He's sitting at a restaurant alone, and then it looked really sad to him looking at himself living just this, boring life, right? I think Hilda.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, him looking at his own life, I think was really interesting. And I was wondering what he was thinking at that moment. Because he was trying to be like, oh, don't look at my life, and it was not that interesting, and blah, blah, blah. And then, uh, remember that moment, that snippet in the movie when he was looking at
Yes.
his own life? I
He was
think that's what.
recognizing that the whole point to the existence itself was just to live and be in the moment and enjoy every moment.
But
That was
yeah.
what the baseline premise and understanding of what it means to incarnate into human form. It's about living and appreciating and having gratitude for the opportunity to even exist.
But
That
I don't
was
think he realized then. I don't think he realized then because he was still after that gig. He still wanted to. I think the turning point was after he performed with Dorothy Williams. His dream, whatever, the musician.
yeah, but that
And
was
then he
when
was
when
like,
he was going over. Oh, that part. No,
right?
okay. So we're looking at two different reclips. I'm talking what I'm thinking that you're talking about. I'm thinking about afterwards when he was recognizing and realizing what he had to do for 22 to get 22 back out from the lost souls. When he took all the stuff out and remembering what
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we're talking
I
about
thought that's
different
what
things.
you were talking
Uh,
about. Sorry.
no, that I was talking about like when he was looking at his own life, sitting at the
Okay.
restaurant,
Yes.
and like just sitting there alone, and he was like, "Oh my God, it's such a boring life." And I was like, he was still after that gig, even after
Yes.
that. He did not realize that. He realized it after he performed with her, and he was like, "I thought I'll feel something different." And the line she said was it. You remember the
That
line
was
she
it.
said?
She
Oh
said,
my
"We'll see you
God.
tomorrow night," or something like that.
No, she
Yes.
said, "You are a fish in the sea that wants the whole sea."
Yeah.
Yes,
No, well,
yes,
so
yes,
yeah, the story, the
yes.
analogy she get it was fish,
Right?
and or he in the river, and I guess he was talking to the river, and was or something like that, and was like searching, felt like a fish lost. Where's the ocean? Where's the ocean? I'm looking for the ocean, and I want the ocean, and the fish is well I can't remember or whatever, but not realizing that the whole point of it was that you're looking for the ocean. Well, the ocean is made of water, and you're in a river that
No, I
But
leads
he
you.
suggested.
also
Hold
had
on.
to
Just
he had to find his throat chakra
Yes,
because he, up to that particular point, also had been battling with what other people thought. in living somebody else's dream. And because at that particular point, he had
Yeah,
been
I think
putting his dream instead of putting it on the front, he kept putting it on the back. And it reflected itself in his life. It even reflected itself in his teaching, because that same response he was giving to his own life came out in his students. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until he stood up for to his mother and said, you know what,
yes,
listen, this is how you make me feel. Because oftentimes we have to stand up to our mothers and our fathers and our bullies, or
Because they
those who
have a
think they
dream
mean
that
us
they
well,
didn't fulfill,
in
and then
order
they
to
put it on
step
us.
into our power. Stepping into our full power means I have to stand up to you,
it's
even though
like
you
that
think
Buddhist
you got my
code. It's that Buddhist code, right? You have to kill your father to become to become an adult,
right,
something like that. It's
right.
like it's very much that. Hold on, that line is because I was curious because it was so good. I heard this story about a fish. He swims up to an older fish and says, "I'm trying to find this thing they call the ocean." "The ocean," says the older fish. "That's what you are in right now." "This," says the young fish, "this is water. What I want is the ocean."
Yes,
Mm,
that's
mm,
it. That's it. Thank you.
mm, mm,
Thank you for looking
It's
it
like,
up and getting it correct.
because it's my brain. I need to. I'm like, "Moo."
Yeah.
So
mhm, mhm.
it's like I think what she was saying is being present, right?
Yes.
And we
Exactly.
are just focused on something's ideal, like it's something out there, and that's what we feel, right? And that's the dreams, and that's why I feel like that one thing that we keep dreaming about will not get you there. Imagine, like it's very much a mind thing. You dream about a new iPhone, and then in a day you forget about it. You get something new, and you're like,
Well,
we
not
wait for
only
something
that,
new to come, and you
it's
forget
funny
it
that you
the
say that
next
because
day.
people will stand in line waiting for days for
That's
the latest iPhone,
yes,
camping out overnight,
because
and
Before
then what?
we
And then, but before you know it, the next number is coming out next year. So
but
you
we are
wasted
not
all that
seeing the
time for
bigger picture, right? But we are not seeing the bigger picture, right? Sorry, Hilda, go on.
no, I was just going to say that, you know what, before we were came on, and I don't know whether, I think it was just when me and Alana were talking, I think earlier today, and we were just talking about, you know what, oftentimes, you know what, we get focused on that moment, and we get trapped in the moment. And in that moment, you know, you put everything into that moment, and don't, and you miss
Yes,
all the other little moments
yes,
hmm
that come along because you've invested into that one moment.
Yeah.
It's like the dream job. You work,
Or the
work, work
dream
to try to
person
get the dream job, and then you get the
or the
dream job. Well,
dream
what comes
person.
after the dream job? Because the dream job, if it's not, eventually that dream job becomes like this. It becomes boring
oh
because
yeah,
we. That's where your mission, your life's mission, really does come into play. That's why, you know,
yes,
you get bored with
yes,
the dream job, right?
And that's
yes,
exactly where, right at that moment, where after he played the gig, the best, and he's coming out, and he was like, so, and then, so what now? And she was like, oh well, we're coming back and do it again all tomorrow, right? And then he was like,
Disappointed. Like, really?
he was
Like,
very
you
so it's
know,
just like another job then. And that's when he
And you know what?
realized. That's when he realized that his true spark was in teaching. That's when it started to unravel.
but remember when the student
I
came, when he was not in his body, in 22 was it actually in his body, and in 22 had locked him inside the apartment, and she went out with a student, and
Yes.
the student was going to give up the trombone,
mm, oh
Yes.
and you know,
yeah,
but all the words that he
mm,
had spoken to them over the years, she went there to give it up.
mm,
And, you know, instead of
that was
giving it
fun.
up, she found what her true passion was. And he didn't even have to say anything because it wasn't even him. He was worried about, you know, what 22 was going to say. And 22 became inspired
Yes.
by the passion that the student had and said there's got to be something to this life, which made 22 want to live life, actually.
Yes.
Started making
Well,
them want to experience more
you
life.
know where all that came out, because I think the one question that um 22 had asked, well, why do you do it? Why do you what like, and then it got the child to speak about how it all made them feel. And
Right,
when you realize that it lit them up, well, then why would you want to give that up? If it gives you
right,
great joy in the moment while doing it, why would you want to give it up? And that is when the understanding of the whole point of it is the joy, the love that you have to give, and the love that you give, and how that love reciprocates into what you get in return. Because when you give love to something, in return it gives its love to you, right?
But I
It
think what
fills you up in a way
Susie's
too.
saying, what Susie is saying, I think it's also on the same line. Is that um, not us? We get the greatest joy from helping others find joy in their. Is that not us? We get the greatest joy from helping others find joy in their life. Again,
right.
I completely agree. I think we keep talking about joy and light and love. It's the most overused word ever.
It is.
It's so overused that we
It
have
is.
it's almost like we're resistant to it.
Nobody
It's,
wants
you
to
know,
deal with the dark, but it's
yeah,
through the dark that we get to the
yeah.
joy, the real
And
love.
yes. And I think it's again goes back to what Hilda is saying, and I feel like it has to be experienced. We keep talking about all of these things, but they don't make us happy, and so we don't even know what happiness is. Because I
Right,
am in a white collar job, right? So I can talk about this. We are fed this dream of like money and all of that, and you do make money, but that's like fake happiness. I don't even know how to
yes,
explain it. It's
Yeah, well,
like
that's
yes,
superficial.
it's not
That's
the real
all like
thing. Yeah,
yes,
material.
it's not the real thing, but like that's what most of us, that's why we get stuck in this
yes.
new iPhones. I'm just saying, in this new iPhones every year. Like I replaced my phone after 8 years. I use iPhone, but I did
Yep,
not. I was like, my phone is working fine. Like
right.
Well, see,
I got now.
but here's the thing. See, and here's where again, and this is also where it becomes a fine line, where the understanding too, where, and also where I started saying check your privilege, right? And understanding more and more why I mean that it isn't just a matter of, like, know your place, but it's like understanding that your
Yes,
privilege for also
yes,
information, for also ability, for also like it's a plethora of things, right? And
yes,
so for you as a software developer, right? If you, and I'm sorry that I
it's
disclosed
fine.
that, like, but okay, right, and without actually checking to make sure that was okay, and I'm sorry, but I hope that's okay. um but you already have that sort of knowledge where that is concerned, right? Now
Yeah,
here's also something that I've also been learning myself, right? Part of what gets us caught up in this transaction of wanting to keep up with the latest too is that, and this is also something that having a person who is familiar with computers, like as who's like my dad's age, right, like in that age group, right, and is a sort of family friend of my dad's, right, and one of the things that he's also informed me too is that in a lot of these technologies, right, certain things, and I've also, like, I'm doing my research and reading up on these things, start to fail after it's set up to start to fail because it's no longer compatible with certain
yes.
updates and things
It's
like that.
updating
So
all
like
the
a
time.
person who's not tech savvy, like for example memoir, right? Is who may not know that, and I've also heard that for bigger tech companies like that one with the iPhone,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
that certain things, like when it can no longer, and even sometimes with PC, but certain other things, like especially as who's a developer, you might know your own programming to be able to bypass certain things to upkeep, to keep your phone, whereas like the average person who doesn't know what to do to upkeep, it will start to fail. So now you're gonna need a new phone anyways, right? I
I
mean, I've been like,
I think it's much
my
more
younger
intense.
days was more where that was concerned. I could keep a phone that long, but then as technology and advanceability sort of sped up where those things, it sort of made it a lot harder because I couldn't keep up with that stuff, right?
Yeah,
So
I
Well,
my
think
you
it's
know,
much
limited where that
different.
is concerned.
Well, I
no,
think
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to add before, because what I feel is that, for example, I got that Apple Watch like many years ago. I was like that. I was like, oh, an Apple Watch. Okay, whatever. I got that. Okay. And I was so mad at it after a year because it used to keep like, like alerting all the time. And I'm like, I want my analog watch. Okay. So I got a simple watch. And so that watch stopped, they stopped sending updates. So that like $500 gone down the drain.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. These companies are intentionally making products that they don't support after some time. So you have to update. It's like the apps will stop working, all of that.
Yeah.
So it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like they are creating so much waste, electronic wastage. Um,
And they're turning it into money,
so
like
that,
your
And,
data
yes,
with your
and
email, all of
yes,
that. It's become now
yes,
money, a money
yes.
so
But
many things
yeah,
to pay for now these days. I
exactly. And like
wonder
my
why.
recent phone was like crazy. Like my phone was working fine. I had iPhone 7 for like many years and it was working fine. I just like to travel and I wanted good pictures. That's why I upgraded my phone, but it was working fine. So I think that's another thing I like about iPhones. Again, I'm just saying that they work for a long time if you use them properly. I didn't, but I understand
Yeah.
why. I actually still don't understand why people keep buying it every year because it's stupid to me. I think you just have too much money, or you're bored, or you're ignorant, or all of these
But
things,
it's all the above. It's all the above. It's the
or
consumers that we
maybe
feed
something I'm
off
not
of that,
aware of.
right? And then it makes us feed, and then we end up getting ourselves with, if we're not paying attention, get caught up in these karmic cycle loops, if you
Yes.
will, right?
Oh, Susie is saying Hilda's phone is about 10 years old. Is it, Hilda? Your phone is 10 years old?
Is it, Hilly?
What's that?
Susie
My phone,
says
I
that
don't
your phone
update.
is about 10
I
years
do not
old.
update. Listen, the phone I currently have, listen, this was the last contract I had. Now, I had this contract before I came down. This phone is probably now 8. It's a, let me see. It's a Samsung 10, I think. And I still use it to play
That's
my
nice.
music in reference to the current phone that I'm coming to you all on live was given to me. Samsung 20 by my niece. No, I will not subscribe. I
Yeah,
will not subscribe. I won't. I don't like their contracts. And
Well,
just as you
yeah.
said,
I don't either.
It's
you guys are
again
playing with the
uh,
memory.
the addictions, right? It falls under addictions, like the constant
Absolutely.
buying addiction, that
Yeah.
hoarding behavior. That
Absolutely.
Speaking
it's
of
it's
which, I've just
almost
had to recently upgrade my phone, but forced
No,
to because
a
it was on a
device and
it was on
no.
what's this thing, what do they call it, the return and save. So, and if I didn't return the phone, they're gonna charge me on my next bill like another like $400. Give
That's
me
true.
the next phone. I'll take
I
the next phone
know. I
happily.
know.
Thank you. But
So
this
much is
Yeah,
time,
they
by
start sending
design
updates. Yeah,
like
it's
that.
also it's very much they design it in a way that people want to spend money. Because yeah, we can go on about this topic, but like all of the clothes, the fast fashion, like things, I like to use things for a long time. Like I don't like to buy things that don't work for years. Okay, minimum 5. I'm just saying, max can go further. Like,
Hmm.
what's the point of buying stuff if it won't last for that long? you
Right.
know. But I think that there's just a lot of how do I say it? We become greedy. I think very greedy.
And it's a throwaway society. The
It is.
fact that, you know what, I'm going to tell you, I was
It
thinking
is.
about this. You got a phone, if it was a stationary phone, what we use, everyone who's still remembers, it's
a
called a
home
house phone.
phone, home phone.
It was that big thing that you actually dialed before they
Uh
actually
huh.
pressed the button. You see, we didn't upgrade our phones like that. And in
The home
fact,
phone.
if you did, if you listen, red or yellow was the big color. If you could get those, one of those colors. My whole point being is the upgrade was not even in your mind. Did you have a workable
Yeah.
phone?
Well, remember, so those of us like in the age groups, especially the XYZ generation, right? And of course, the baby boomers. I don't know if we could go further back because I don't think the silent generation. I don't think they have their. I think they are silent.
Listen, I want a tin
Literally.
can. I want us to go back to the tin can where we start communicating through the tin can.
What?
See, everybody can find a tin can, right?
Speaking of
That's
phones, we're
all
talking about
internet
phones.
does.
My house phone is ringing now, right now.
Show the
Oh,
folk what a
Susie.
real house phone looks like today. Please show
Well,
them
well,
what a
well
real house
I'm
phone
gonna have
looks
to
like.
get up to go. Excuse me, and mine looks like a cell phone, so it wouldn't be a very
Okay.
good. Yeah, because
Okay.
it's a portable, and it's actually connected to it's a called a mobile house phone.
Oh.
No, it's a
Okay.
mobile house phone. Apparently.
What? Wow.
Which means
Susie.
it's not actually
Right.
connected to like the traditional landline jack,
Right.
right? It has its own little modem thing, and I actually had to recently upgrade it because they're cutting off the 3G now network. We're now in the
That's the
5G,
thing. They're forcing people to upgrade.
right? So I
That's the
had
thing.
to get a new thing to support the mobile
Yeah.
home
It's like
phone
they
on the
don't even
5G
they're not
network.
compatible anymore. So yeah, that's the whole thing. So my internet bill, it's like they want people like, so I think Xfinity is a it's you are in Canada,
You
right?
can
Both of
go
you.
on about
But it's
3D
like,
and 5G, even in the spirituality community. Oh, Lord, that's a whole
yeah.
nother rabbit
So
hole.
She's
it's
talking,
like
Elena.
it's like they tie, can you hear us, Alana?
I can hear. I can hear.
Okay, okay, good.
That was
So
me
like
whistling because
Xfinity,
the piggies are just.
oh, I see. Overstimulated. You're overstimulated. Okay. So like Comcast is a big internet company here, right? Right. So
Bye, piggy, piggy.
that
Bye, bye.
and 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 give them marshmallows.
That's right. Put the marshmallows away.
Ooh, no, they
Okay.
weren't grapes.
Sorry. No.
So like
Right.
I'm just saying, I'm gonna finish this. So
I
they
still have
bought this
grapes.
phone company. They bought this phone company and they want people to buy their phone lines. So they increase the internet prices and they're saying, we'll give you phones free. You see, it's all marketing. It's like it's all marketing.
Yes,
Woo!
absolutely. We live in a contract society and they want you to continue to bind to the
Yeah.
contract. Because if you bind to the contract, they have a piece of you. They have your energy. So you know what? Until it dies, I'm gonna keep this phone that I got, you know.
So
No,
here's the
seriously,
thing.
yes I am. And
I
then
mean,
you're all gonna have to get a tin can. You're
Here's
gonna
the
have to get
thing.
Kin. That's it.
Here's the thing. You realize that one
What?
movie, this Soul movie, which came out in 2020,
I
right there in
know.
the year the
Yeah.
pandemic
Oh,
first,
that one. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That
What
one.
about
You
it?
see how we're all talking? Yeah, the same one that we've been talking about this whole
Yeah.
time. You see how
Yeah.
it just woo circle right
Yeah.
back. Okay.
I
So
love this.
anyway, back to the whole
Powerful.
thing. We are now
I'll be
again
back.
until we go into the matrix, and this is what the spiritual void is all about.
Yeah. It is. It is.
Ding,
So
ding.
how long do we want this to go on? Because I don't think we should run it too long, my dear.
Well, I know, and but again, so wrapping it up in that on that note, because we can go down several rabbit
We
holes.
could, but we must save it for another podcast.
Right,
Because the piggies are
exactly.
getting worked up,
So
and
please,
so am I.
please like, share, and subscribe
Please.
for joining us on this wonderful discussion on such a happy yet very powerfully
Yeah.
and spiritually invoking
Yeah.
movie that can bring up so many different discussions and relate to everything. This is why I created the spiritual void from A to Z.
And
This is what it's all about. So I hope that you'll come and join us again for both
Ravneet
live.
was excellent. She was an excellent. Listen.
All are
y-
excellent.
y- Oh no, I like the blend. Okay. This is what I'm saying. I'm
Yes.
promoting the blend. It's like a tea blend.
Yeah.
Keep going. Sorry, Alana. I
Which
cut you
herb am
off.
I?
Alana says
You
keep cutting me off all
bulldoggies,
the time.
Nana.
I know. I'll
No,
shut up.
if I have to hold on to my piggies, you have to hold on to your bulldoggies too, you know. Okay, listen. So, anyways, let's wait till the piggies finish, okay? So, because otherwise they get very distracted and then they'll just go down several different rabbit holes and then the whole point will get lost, okay?
I'm listening.
Give me a minute because now I have to rile up the piggies again because they're just so.
She forgot. She forgot what
And
she
now I
had
don't
to
even
say.
remember what I was saying. This is wise.
I think we should do it again, Hilda.
I know she did. She forgot what you said. Well, now she knows how it feels.
I always know how it feels. I talk to
Now
my
you
people
know.
for a living. Okay, listen. That was her when that customer said, listen, okay? All right. Anyway, so bring it back. So So I wanted to thank everyone. I want to thank Ravneet. I want to thank Hilly as always. And Ravneet, you know, I want to thank, you know, Susie for being here in chat and just, you know, being our ride and die true here chat lady. I love it. Thank you so much. And you are welcome to join us in the spiritual void anytime, whether it be in chat or even here in person chatting away about, like, right, this is what this is. I was saying, see how the piggies come back. See, the piggies come back. This is what I was saying. This is what it's all about. So whether we are doing you know, it through live, whether we are filming it through Zoom and then doing it and premiering it, this is what it's all about, relating things to real life, because again, art imitates life and life imitates art, and the best way that we can all relate to one another are things that we can equally have and share in common. And so what better way to have a discussion about things and being able to come in and throwing all these different perspectives into the pot where we can see the common thread amongst it all.
Susie's saying something. Oh, good night, Sabrina. Thanks for being here.
Bye, Sabrina.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for being here. I love you.
Susie's saying,
thank you.
I'd never get a word in.
We will make space for you. Don't you worry, Susie.
No,
We
we
will
will
always
listen to
make
you,
space
Susie.
for you. Always. That's what it's about. Created this
Well,
space so that we can share and hold space for each other and have wonderful, comedic, thought provoking, deep, powerful, emotional, raw discussions with respect, with integrity, and with the utmost love. Because at the end of the day, as I always say on my other channel, as I am loved, so are you. So as I see myself as human, I know you are too. Because I can
well,
see with
I
my
love the fact
eyes
It
and
was a
that
pleasure
we
being
are
my
here.
having.
eye and feel it in my
Yeah,
spirit.
yeah.
I like the
Thanks,
fact
Shah.
that we are having um powerful, not just powerful conversations, but conversations that make you think, but also, that are attached to some sort of healing. Because I think that that
Yeah,
keeps right in, it, or aligns with my
Yes.
it aligns with me. So, I just don't like to conversate just about anything. But if you can use something like movies and that to draw out some powerful, good conversation, I think that that's what happened tonight. But the biggest thing is that you have three people here that are doing the work of their own healing, who are figuring it out, that can come to the table and be able to see. Because it is important. Alana talked earlier, you can talk about grounding, but if you know what, you're not doing the work, then grounding's going to be useless to you. You're not going to be able to connect. So it is about making the bigger, deeper connections. And tonight, that is what this void is doing. So I thank you for creating the platform that, you know what, I can even participate into this because I just don't fit into all spaces. So thank you. And thank you,
yeah,
Ravneet,
And
for
thank you for sharing
yeah,
yourself so
yeah,
beautifully, and with humility to just come together and share the space and chat and accept one another for exactly who we are, piggies, bulldoggies, whatever. And
right.
at all, okay? Because it's all it's a part of who we all are, right? And at the end of the day, again, as this is, June 30th, we are in the month of men's mental health, right? That's that healing, that the divine masculine energy after we came from, the Mother's Day. It's all by design. It ain't
And I can't
Juneteenth,
keep up. You
all of
know what? I
it.
didn't even know that men
um,
had a day. Now, when did they
yeah.
give men
Like
a day like that? Now, seriously. Come on.
Well,
I
it's
didn't know
about
either.
You going
because
all the way
it's
there?
still.
Come on. What did I miss?
Well,
Salt, my God.
and because
Seriously?
love is
Men
love,
got a
love is
day.
love, and isn't that what pride is all about?
Well, I didn't. Well, you know what? Pride ain't just about men.
The
Pride is about all
LGBTQ
different genders. What I'm saying is this:
IA plus
when did they get a
community.
day?
At the end of the day, all of those letters and symbol is a part of the entire alphabet.
Right.
So join us in the spiritual void from
Absolutely.
A to Z, because all letters are equally in this alphabet.
I thought you were
So
talking
love
about
is
Men's Day.
love.
I thought you was talking about Men's Day. I thought men had a day today. I
Well,
already
isn't
know
that
about
Father's
Pride. Christ, you
Day?
gotta
Isn't
go
that what
downtown.
Father's
I
Day is
see
about?
Pride. They got a whole sidewalk of
Isn't
Pride
that
to
what
let me know that
Father's
Pride is
Day
in
is all
existence.
about?
What?
Hold
Isn't
on,
that what
Susie.
Father's Day is all about, which comes in June
You guys.
too?
Well, I
After
forgot about
May, which
that.
is Mother's Day,
I
because
forgot about Father's Day. I
spring
didn't have a
equinox,
father. I
and
didn't
then
have,
the
listen, I
summer
didn't have a father.
solstice. Okay, we'll talk all more about that later on the spiritual void. Coming
Yeah,
soon in further episodes. Oh, wait, we were also going to pick another movie. Do you want to pick another movie to talk about or another topic for our next episode? And Ravneet, if you want to join us for the next one, you're more than welcome to.
sure. But first, Susie, thank you so much for being here. She's applauding us, and
Thank you, Susie. I
she's
love
saying men
you.
are
Thank you so
the
much.
Hey, Susie.
Thank
Sister
she's saying
you.
Susie.
men are the reason we are screwed. Okay, we need to talk about this. You see, I can
In
sense
many
you thought about
ways, more than one. Okay, literally and
it.
figuratively speaking. So that's a whole nother topic and conversation. All in all.
Well, I can say, I like that. I like that Susie brought that up. I think we should talk about men next time. Maybe some movie that.
I think that that would be quite wonderful for me. That would be very wonderful. I'll talk about men. Come on. Because you know what? I'm not gonna lie. Maybe I'm a little thirsty. Well, listen, it is. No, listen. I ain't gonna lie. It's springtime, and I'm feeling the birds. I'm feeling the grass. Listen, I'm right within my element. It's springtime. Look, and there goes the bird. There goes the birdie, birdie, bird. Okay. Listen, I'm keeping it real.
That's,
I
I
and you
know.
will
It's
too.
all good.
Wait until you hit my age. You
let's
will
let's
too.
let's just do,
Well,
wrap
we
this
feel
up.
you just for that. Girl.
I want to thank everyone who
All right,
joined
thanks,
us
everybody.
tonight and who participated in chat. I thank you so much. And until next time, take care of
Love
yourselves
y'all. Thank
and
you.
each other.
Thank you.
Love you. Thanks, guys.
Great live, guys.
Bye.
Bye.